wanted to share a little bit about my experience with my health. And I haven't really felt well since I was a teenager. My symptoms really started exacerbating when I was in college. I remember I was on birth control at the time to help clear up my skin. I was overweight, I had acne, and I would cry over little things, and I would cry for hours, and it was not normal. I was aware that it was not normal. I didn't know why it was happening. I didn't feel depressed most of the time. I would see like an old person on TV and start crying. I would get home at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I would go directly to bed. I would not sleep because I wasn't sleepy, but I was exhausted, I was fatigued. I had a lot of anxiety. If I had plans with friends, I would cancel them at the last minute. I had good intentions. I knew that I wanted to see my friends and that would make me happier. And when the time would come, I would get very upset because I didn't want to go. I didn't feel well. I didn't know how to explain it to them. It was embarrassing. My world was shrinking. I would stay in bed until it was time to cook dinner. I'd get myself out of bed, I'd cook dinner, and then I'd go back to bed and I'd go to sleep. I knew it wasn't good for me and it wasn't healthy, but I didn't feel up for anything that was healthy or good for me. At this time, I experimented with amino acids. I tried taking tryptophan. I tried taking GABA. Anything that I thought would make me better. I read books about it. Any little hints, I was like, oh, maybe this is the cure that I need, and this will make me better. And it did a little bit, but I would get headaches because I was taking so much. I would fall asleep in the middle of the day if I took too much tryptophan. I mean, that wasn't what was wrong with me. I wasn't just low on tryptophan. You know, it was much bigger than that, and I was still have little crying spells, and I wouldn't know what would trigger them, or I would be sitting there crying and saying, I'm not that sad, but I'm just beside myself and almost hysterical. And I was able to kind of do this in the privacy of my home, and I didn't feel good about it. And it was very upsetting to know that I was unwell, know that this wasn't normal. I was in therapy because I recognized that I needed help, and I just didn't know how to give myself that help. I'd been to Kaiser and gotten tests done, and they said I was normal. And it wasn't until later that I learned that they just do a bell curve of everyone that walks in there, and if you fall within the normal range, then you're considered normal. It's not, they don't take into consideration your symptoms, and they don't take into consideration what is actually healthy. Anyways, that's another topic, but I was clearly not well, and I didn't know how to get help. And so I started asking people after a couple years. And I was also getting very upset. So I was easily angered, and it wasn't consistent, but it would happen at work, it would happen in my personal life, and things would really trigger me, and I'd have a hard time letting go of things that really didn't affect my life that much. And I would feel victimized and just like it was unfair, and I'd get so frustrated that I'd make it a big deal, but privately. I kept it all inside because it's not, that's not how you make friends, and that's not how you run a business. So it was very, it was destructive, and I was aware that it was destructive, and I still wasn't able to change it. And I was reading self-help books, I was going to therapy, I was doing a lot. I was doing literally everything I knew how to do. When I exercised, I would feel worse the next day. I would feel more relaxed. My anxiety would go down a little bit, but then I'd get mental fog. I'd start sentences, and halfway through the sentence I would forget what I was saying. And it got to the point where I remember telling my mom, I was crying, and I was like, I used to be smart. I used to be one of the smartest people in the room. I was 2 years ahead in calculus in high school. I was taking college classes. I was an honors student. I graduated with honors from the university, and here I was. I would joke, I don't even know my own name. I couldn't spell my name correctly some days. And this was just, it was hard. It was really frustrating. I felt like I wasn't living my life. And I was embarrassed, I was ashamed. My friends didn't understand why I wasn't making time for them. I wasn't putting any effort into the friendships. And they were, I can't blame them. They were going on with their life without me, and I could see the fun that they were having. I'm talking about my early 20s, my mid 20s. And I felt like an old person that had given up on life. And so I got to the point where I started asking everyone I know about, how have you ever dealt with anything like this? How do you suggest I get help? And I found out that there was a thing called a naturopath, which was a doctor that was trained to prescribe, instead of pharmaceuticals, herbs and tinctures and stuff like that were not synthetic. And so I found, based off a recommendation, I started going to a naturopath in my hometown, and $700 later, 2 visits later, I wasn't really feeling any better, and my acne had gotten worse, and I was strung out. They gave me something to give me more energy because they thought that's what I needed, and it didn't work for my body, and I was worse off for it and broke. So that was very disempowering. I was kind of scared to do it again. I didn't have a lot of extra money. I was building a business. All of my money and energy was going into that, and it hadn't taken off. And yet I was still dealing with all these symptoms, and it became more and more urgent every day to get better. And I was very stuck. Dr. Ilya is different from anyone that I've ever met, in his professional abilities and also in his personality. He's funny, he's unique, and it's taken me a while to understand how to work with him well. First of all, because I didn't like being told that there were things wrong with me that I wasn't aware of. I really rejected that, and my ego didn't want to hear it. I thought I was healthy when I first started seeing him, and he told me I wasn't. And, then I started to understand that I wasn't, and I started to see what was possible if I was, and I decided to change my attitude about it. And I said, if what I want is to get better, and intuitively, I already knew that I wanted to get more better than I already thought I was. I was aware of it on some level. My attitude became, what can I do? Oh, that's it? That's all? Oh, okay. That's all I need to do in order to get better, in order to have my life back, in order to have health. And that was a conscious shift on my part, because some of the things are challenging. Lifestyle changes are challenging, and I made the decision to do that. And Dr. Ilya has supported me the entire way. When my thinking goes back to, oh, I want to live like everyone else and I want to do what everyone else does, he points out to me, yeah, but everyone else isn't very healthy. Our country is 60th in health, which means that things that we think that we take for granted as healthy or acceptable in this country are not. They're bad habits for your health. And if you want to be healthy, then you have to be different from that. And so he champions this path, which is best for me. So he champions me, and he champions my health. I had Hashimoto's, which is when it's an autoimmune disease when your body attacks your thyroid. So my immune system was attacking my thyroid, which explained why I had no energy and why I just felt like total crap all the time. It's been 1.5 years since I've been working with Dr. Ilya. I haven't been sick in over 1.5 years. And this is very significant for me because part of Hashimoto's is having a really weak immune system. And I remember even in college, I used to be sick every other week. And my mom would say, oh, it's the stress. Sure, it's the stress, but it's also like almost strep throat at this point. After eating, about 1.5 hours after eating, I would be very, very tired. I would be ready for a nap. And all of that is gone. I haven't been sick. I don't get tired after I eat. I don't have these highs and lows. My blood sugar is balanced, which has gotten rid of pretty much all of my emotional turmoil, my anxiety. It's really that simple, but it hasn't always been easy, and especially with infections. So I've dealt a lot with infections, some that I was aware of and some that I wasn't aware of that I had. This was contributing to my acne, to my moodiness, to my fatigue. And Dr. Ilya's treated all of them. I've been able to get rid of them without antibiotics. I haven't taken antibiotics in over 1.5 years. When my thinking goes back to, oh, I want to live like everyone else and I want to do what everyone else does, he points out to me, yeah, but everyone else isn't very healthy. Our country is 60th in health, which means that things that we think that we take for granted as healthy or acceptable in this country are not. I know how to care for myself now. I'm in control of my health. And it's amazing. I'm getting emotional. But I haven't been in control of my health and I haven't been in control of my life. And all of a sudden I am, and it takes work and it's totally worth it. And it's truly amazing what I've been able to do with the help of Dr. Ilya, what he's empowered me to do, or what we've done together in my health. I couldn't give him a higher recommendation. I'm just about to cry right now because it's just, what do you have? What did I have? I didn't have anything. I couldn't see my friends. I couldn't enjoy my days off. I couldn't enjoy my time off. I wasn't able to think clearly. My self-esteem was in the gutter. All of that has changed, and I'm doing this in a way that doesn't harm my body. There's no short-term gain for long-term. I'm not helping myself now at the expense of my future health. What I'm doing now is building a foundation for wellness. I stopped going to therapy a couple months after seeing Dr. Ilya because I felt so well that I wasn't upset. I wasn't getting angry as often. I didn't feel needy. I didn't feel inclined to be in a codependent relationship, which I had been in before, and a lot of that was my doing. I was making healthy choices for myself, and it was easy and it was what I wanted to do. I'm close with my family, I'm close with my parents. I'm actually probably one of the healthiest people that I know now, in spite of my autoimmune disease. I look around and I'm like, oh yeah, I know what's wrong with you, but you don't want to hear it. If you want to be healthy, then you have to be different from that. And so he champions this path, which is best for me. So he champions me and he champions my health.